Welcome everybody to Let's Talk About It. A podcast is a platform for real talk, real people, real topics, real conversations. If you're following us on YouTube, please like, subscribe, give a comment, hit that notification button, ladies and gentlemen, because when these episodes come out, you will hear it automatically. If you're listening to me on audio, Apple, Spotify, iHeart Radio, hit that notification button, give me some downloads. I appreciate that because it puts me into a different algorithm. Today's conversation, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be a very interesting one. I'll tell you right now. I'm going to talk to a gentleman from South Carolina. He has a book called "From Bars to Jars." It's about he goes to explain his journey from addiction, legal trouble, to a collapsed music career. In my mind, and this is just my mind, you know what I mean? He is becoming a very, very famous entrepreneur with his homemade Italian recipe. I mean, that came from his family. We're going to talk about that. And he has a specialty foods business as well. So we go chop it up with him. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce Joe Gallagher Jr. Joe, what's going on, man?
What's up, man? Nice to meet you finally, and thank you again for having me on.
Joe, first and foremost, first question I ask for you, man. How was your Saturday so far?
Beautiful, man. I'm sitting here working on my second book, in the rain, so I got the backdrop of the water just dripping down the window,
Oh,
peaceful.
yeah, well, yeah. You're down in South Carolina. I'm up in Charlotte, and it's raining up here too. So,
Yeah, big storm came through last night, man.
really,
Oh, yeah. Yep.
oh, man, it's either hot or stormy, but whatever.
Yeah.
Joe, let's have a conversation today, brother. I know you've been on many podcasts. You've told your story about your book, which it dropped June 1st.
June 1st, yeah. Yep.
Okay, June 1st. Man, the title "Bars to Jars." Look at that, "Bars to Jars," man. Like, that title right there. Before we start with Journey, why that title?
Well, I mean, it's pretty literal. Like I was, about seven or 8 years ago, I was literally behind bars. Caught my first charge, and it was due to drinking. And so I was at the bar, and then fast forward 7 years later, I'm making jars of sauce, and it's in the grocery stores.
And we gonna talk about that, Joe. Let's go back to your younger years.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's talk about your journey up until you are today. I'm assuming, right? No, you said in your bio you had collapsed music career, right? So when was
Yeah.
your first love of music, and how old was you, and how did you get into the music business?
Yeah, so this is all coming like full circle now because I can remember being about 8 years old at my grandmother's house in New Haven, Connecticut. And on Sundays we'd get together as a family and we'd have an Italian meal. So she would start cooking early in the morning, and we wouldn't be eating until about 2 or 3 in the afternoon.
Whoa.
And so my uncles and cousins played music in the living room, and I could distinctly remember this. The cigarette smoke, marijuana being passed around, them singing Grateful Dead tunes, the Beatles and Bob Marley, and so I just was drawn to that, and I always wanted to be able to play with my uncles and my cousins on a Sunday. I think it was about 14, 15 years old. I picked up a guitar, and I took lessons for about a year, and then started writing songs, And within a year, I had a couple songs written, and then by the time I was 17, I started playing out, at coffee houses and stuff like that.
Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. So what type of music are we talking about here?
Well, so it started off, just like classic rock tunes, and stuff like that, like with a underlying alternative rock vibe. But then I started getting into hip hop and all different other kinds of styles. So, when all was said and done, over the last like 20 years, I've written 2,500 songs in 10 different genres.
Baby. All right. Take me back to the first time you ever performed. Now, I don't know if anybody ever asked you that question, right? Take me back to the first time you ever performed. How was that feeling? What was you performing, and where was you at?
So I was like, I felt really different as a kid. I had a hard time like relating to people and feeling comfortable. And I had a lot of trauma too. And writing was like therapeutic for me. And I bottled all my emotions up, and then they came out through my songs. My first performance was at a place called Kutza Cafe in Fairfield, Connecticut. Come to find out that it's one of the same places that John Mayer got started. John
Okay.
Mayer is from Connecticut, and that was one of the places that he got started in too. So that was my first show. And I got hooked to that, that applause, the recognition, and like feeling like a part of the scene, and it kind
Okay.
of gave me an identity and helped me with like, self worth and that kind of stuff.
How was the travel? Like, I mean, did you travel all over the country? Did you travel all over the world? I mean, how was your career like in the music industry?
So it started off just local, like New Haven, Hartford, just Connecticut. I played at Toad's Place in New Haven, packed that place a couple times. Then Hartford, Upper on the Rocks, and some other big bars. And now I wasn't even of age yet, so they were
Oh,
letting me slide. They were letting me slide in just because of the momentum that I was in newspapers and I had a song on college radio and stuff like that at a very young age. But it wasn't until like my late 20s and 30s that I started traveling. I went on one tour, which was a nightmare. It was not successful from
whoa.
all the way from New York to Miami. And then I did another tour, which again wasn't successful from South Carolina to New York. And then I played a big show out in LA, open for Judas Priest, shortly after um, my car accident. That
How
was my
was
last show. That was my
oh,
last show.
really? So, but before I ask you about your car accident, like, so how was that opening up for them? Like, that's a big time band right there.
It was crazy because like it was just me and on acoustic guitar. I didn't have the band at this time. This was like after the Grammy thing. Like I was in contention for a Grammy back in 2017 for Best New Rock Artist, and then during the votes, I was hit by a truck. I got rear-ended and had to have two spinal surgeries. But when I got out of that, I got out of the hospital, and I was able to walk again, which was miraculous in itself. I was just trying to cling on to what I had built. But it was at that show that I realized my career was over. I couldn't hang like I used to. I couldn't perform the way that I was used to because I couldn't feel my hands. I had to sit down on a stool, so it was like a really weird show for me to be at. Sitting down playing acoustic guitar, and I had a violinist accompany me. But then right after that is this big major band, Judas Priest, rocking out, with all the theatrics and everything.
Wow, bro, that's amazing right there. So, like, tell me about the feeling when you heard that you was being nominated or being considered for a Grammy. How was that for you?
So that's what I was working my whole life for, my whole career. And I was working with OB from the Hit Cartel,
Yeah,
who is
yeah,
he put on Dave East and French Montana. That's LL Cool
right.
J's godson. He was
Yeah,
my
yeah,
best
yeah.
friend, and he was working with me hard. Like he would come all the way down from New York. We were shooting videos down here, and we did two albums, and then and he fronted them to me. Like I didn't have to pay for him. Like it was on the label, and then Big Noise Records is the one who actually put out the ballot for Best New Rock Artist with that first album, Side Effects.
All right. So tell me how it is. Like, give me like a moment where you like, wow, like what was that moment when you on stage or wherever you was at, where you was like, damn, I'm on the right path. I'm gonna make this. Like what was that moment right there, and where was you at?
Oh man. Well, I guess seeing that email come through from Big Noise Records, like you're on this ballot for the 2017 Grammy Awards. Now it was like go time to promote and start getting the votes, so I could get the actual nomination. And it was like 2 weeks after that is when I got hit by a truck. And when I got hit by the truck, my song was on a Charleston radio station, a major rock radio station.
Wow.
I was listening to
How was
myself
that?
on the radio when I got smacked.
Get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Wait,
It was in the
was that the
morning.
first time you heard yourself on the radio?
No, it was, but the first time in Charleston.
In Charleston. All right. So take me back the first time you heard yourself on the radio. What was that like?
So I was working at my father's paint shop. He had an automotive paint distribution company in New Haven, and I
Yeah.
would mix paint. I'm taking all these colors, I'm mixing them up, and a radio station out of New Haven, the University of New Haven, started playing the song called "Paper Bags" that I recorded in my uncle's studio with my brother on drums, and my brother had only been playing drums for like 3 months during the recording, so it was it was amazing that we even pulled that off.
Wow. So back then, all throughout the years, your music industry, all the music, how was that the overall experience from you from top to bottom being in the music industry?
So it started like really genuine, man, and it was like an outlet for me, and but once I started getting attention and stuff like that, I started doing it for the wrong reasons. I was like drawn to like the fame and the fortune and the material stuff, and I kind of let it get to my head, and I became arrogant, cocky, and really self-centered, and I
Really?
was willing to sacrifice everything for that dream.
Really? So being on the road, having all the attention, the fans, everything like that. Like, so if you look back on it now, if somebody came out, let's say you met a young man right now, right, that's going to go down that same road for the music industry, what type of advice would you give him or her?
Well, stay true to yourself, and just don't sell out. Don't let all the distractions get you off course, because that's what happened to me.
Gotcha. Now, I'm assuming, is this when the addiction started? After this or during this?
No, no, it was all throughout. Like, 13 years old, I had my first glass of champagne, and it was pretty much on from there. And I just started chasing that feeling, because it gave me something that I hadn't had before. Like this comfort and ease, and like a soothing and power. Like I had courage and more confidence, and I felt like I could relate to adults, and I was funnier, cooler, more attractive, and all that. And it was just I got trapped in the illusion.
Really? Now, was you going through something through like 13 on then that you needed? All this addictions was just straight alcohol? Was it drug abuse? And
It started with alcohol. It was So I grew up in a loving household, but there was a lot of violence. My father was an alcoholic and drug addict, and I can remember bad scenes like
yeah,
glass smashing and all kinds of crazy stuff. And then also when I was in the church choir back in Connecticut, and I had a situation with an older gentleman looking for something to suppress everything, and I couldn't tell nobody. So
really?
yeah, so then I just kept on chasing that feeling that I felt at my cousin's wedding, which was the alcohol produced.
Now, was you writing all this information in your book?
All this information is in my book. The whole story is completely transparent. Yeah.
Okay, so when you're writing this information, from alcohol to what happened to you as a youth, the addiction, how hard was that? Because like I talked to other writers that had like similar situations, and they said they had to stop and start and stop and start. Some of them just went right through it. Take me through like that part of it, because that must have been very tough for you.
Yeah, you know what? It was hard. It was, but at the same time, it was cathartic and it was necessary. Like I had to do this to grow beyond what I had trapped inside myself. I had to get this out for a number of reasons. I needed the truth to be revealed, because so much stuff has been said about me throughout the years because of the arrests and everything else, and separation from my children. Like my hope is someday that they read this and know what really went down.
So, did the addiction part help you through all this part of it?
Yeah, so
It's like a healing thing for you.
so I had to get sober first. Like if I wasn't sober, this book wouldn't have came out, because it wouldn't have been honest. Like once I got sober and started working a program, part of that program is to make amends, and like write down my moral inventory, all the things that have harmed me and what it affected, and then what my part in it was. Like where did I go wrong?
All right, now the legal trouble. Did this happen throughout the music career or after music?
Yeah. So right after that car accident in 2017, now right before then I started doing cocaine and I was drinking. Then I got into the car accident, and then I got out of the hospital and I started taking pain pills, Xanax. all kinds of other stuff,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
night I got arrested, my first arrest, I was not drinking. I was trying not to anyway. I was like white knuckling it. I hadn't been working no kind of program or anything.
Yeah.
So let me tell you about that, man. This was crazy.
Okay.
So I'm out of the hospital like 2 weeks. They didn't think I was going to walk again. I had two spinal surgeries, C5 and L7,
Okay.
and I couldn't feel my hands. And so I was getting cabin fever. Like I wanted to feel normal again, and I'm all depressed and shit because like I can't feel my hands, and like how am I going to play guitar? How am I going to continue doing the only thing I knew and loved, which was music? So a friend invites me to a bar down the street from my house. I go
Mm.
there. I'm there for like 10 minutes. I'm not drinking, but I'm high as a kite. Ripping lines and I see a drunk guy trying to leave, trying to drive home, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden I felt compelled like to put on my cape, my superhero cape, and I'm gonna come. I'm gonna save this guy from causing some problems, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I took him to his trailer park. I get there. He invites me in for 18-year-old bourbon, and I just couldn't say no. I had no defense against that first drink, man, because I wasn't
Wow.
working a spiritual program. I didn't have faith or anything like that. So I go inside, and when I get inside, his roommate's about 300 pounds, and he's livid that there's another guy in the house. Like this guy invited me, and so they decide to rob me. They start pushing me around, and I can't really defend myself, because I just had back surgery. I'm not going to fight these guys. But I happened to have, and this might have been a God thing, man, as crazy as it sounds, but I had a 2-inch pocket knife on me for the first time ever out there with a weapon, right? And
It
it was,
worked.
listen, man, when I
It
thought,
worked.
when shit went down and I thought these guys are going for guns, I pulled that thing out, but I'm shaking and I'm scared out of my mind. So, I'm sitting in jail. My father had to bond me out, $50,000 bond.
Ooh.
Yep. Um, Thankfully, it was my first offense because if it wasn't, they probably would have held my ass. But I got out and I was just angry at the world, man, miserable, scared,
Yeah.
depressed, suicidal.
Yeah.
And then, I promised my father I would never get in trouble again, blah, blah, blah. But now I'm really drinking harder than ever. I'm doing more drugs than ever. And, within a month or two, I'm back in jail for a DUI. I got a reckless driving, hit and run. For the next 4 or 5 years, man, I'm just ripping and running, getting in trouble. And I started a record label throughout all this too, which failed miserably. Lost
Oh
a
my
shit ton
God.
of money. Yeah, yeah. My wife,
Joe,
my wife supported me the whole time.
I gotta ask you this question. As you're going through all this, the addiction, alcohol, music career, what was your family saying to you all these times?
Man, they were just holding on to some hope that maybe I would change. I hate to say this, but they enabled me a lot too, and I was able to manipulate them. And it was painful, man. It's a family disease. Like everybody's affected when there's an alcoholic or an addict in the family. Everybody's getting is a hostage.
I've been hearing that a lot. Trust me, man. I know a lot of people that's went through this and they cleaned up their lives just like how what you did. When you went through all this, no, matter of fact, let me rephrase that. All right, let's get to a point where you, after there were all the arrests, the drug addiction, where you was like, excuse my French, I fucked up. Like, what was
Hmm.
that rock bottom? Because you mentioned rock bottom. What was
Yeah.
that rock bottom moment where you like, you probably just talked to yourself like, Joe, I gotta get my shit together. Like, what was that point right there where you had to change?
So, all right. Right before my last arrest, I was working at a distillery in Alabama. So I'm driving back and forth from. I started this distillery with a buddy of mine, and we brought 10 moonshines to market. So I'm driving back and forth for 10 months from Charleston to Alabama every 2 weeks or so. Well, the last time I had an altercation with my so-called partner because he decides that he's going to start embezzling money, and I wanted no part of that. And then he was mad at me too. His daughter was kind of getting close to me, and we were drinking together, and he didn't like that. So we had a big falling out. I came back from Alabama in a blackout. I had about 2 quarts of moonshine with me. The first thing I did, was like instantly pull into a liquor store. 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm just getting back from driving all throughout the night. And the first thing I'm trying to do is get some more liquor, you know?
Wow.
And then, I went to a bar like 2 or 3 days after that. My wife was just barely talking to me. She didn't want anything to do with me at this point, but we're still coexisting in the house. And I'm like, I just need one big deal to go through. Like, let me take these moonshine samples and try to pitch it to a distributor here in Charleston to see if I can get the liquor now in my state, right? Because I was still technically kind of an owner of this thing. And so I had some success. I think somebody said yes, and I wanted to celebrate. So now I got 4 Xanax in me, and I'm drinking more at this bar. I come home, and this all had to be told to me because I was in a blackout again, and had a altercation with my wife. I was trying to drive drunk, and now she's keeping the keys from me, and I got arrested again for a domestic violence charge, and that was my rock bottom because once they told me what I did, stuff I said that I would never do, and now I was emotionally, spiritually bankrupt and I had to turn to God, for the first time I was willing to just say, God, please forgive me. I don't, I can't do this no more.
All right. So now throughout this whole time, you're married. Am I correct?
Yeah. This is my second marriage. My first marriage, man. I was 21 on my honeymoon. I got kidnapped in the Bahamas. That's a whole story. That's all in the book too.
Oh, wow, Joe.
You would think, that I would have waken up then. I was held hostage for 8 hours. Yeah, man. Yeah.
That's mad crazy right there. But all right. Your wife now, right?
Yeah.
Now, I'm assuming, like, you wrote all this in the book. This and that. If you feel comfortable,
Yeah.
and how does she react? How does she feel? And how was her support and through all this with you? Like, how important is she to you?
Man, she's everything. She saved my life a number of occasions, but in a blackout under the influence like that, you don't think of any of that, you don't think you're not thinking anything. You're not even really there. And, just God bless her, man, for sticking around. Like, I really had to do something to prove. I couldn't talk anymore. I had to show her that I was serious. And that's when I got sober. I did 26 weeks of PTI, and really had to, turn things around. And I can only do that through God, and my faith. That was the only way.
So your faith, so you went to your faith and it changed your life, right?
Yes, sir.
What was that first time I needed this in my life? I need faith in my life.
So, I've been going back and forth to meetings since 2010 is really when I walked into my first meeting. And that was because I was on the third floor of a mental ward, psych ward at Yale New Haven Hospital after a suicide attempt, and that's when the program got introduced to me. And I had identified with a lady that was carrying the message. She was talking about feelings and emotions that I never heard anybody else talk about, so, and she identified herself as an alcoholic. So I knew right then that I might have a problem with alcohol. So from 2010 to now, I've been in and out and never able to manage, amount any sobriety time because I wasn't willing to do all the stuff necessary to, I didn't believe in God really, or I believed in God, but I just didn't think he wanted anything to do with me. He couldn't forgive me for all this shit I'd done, and I just, it got worse and worse and worse. They told me back then, like all the yets, they call them yets, like this will happen if you continue. And I didn't believe them. I said, okay, yeah, we'll see about that. I got this, that the pride and the ego, man, and that's what ultimately damn near killed me is being too smart and too whatever that I need no help.
So you're saying, right. So with your wife's help and forgiveness and your faith, it turns you around and puts you on the right path. So as you're taking this path, how'd you get into the making homemade sauce business? And like, because you said it's a family recipe. So how'd you start off from okay, when you finally got everything was said and done, you were good. How'd you get into that line?
So listen, I couldn't even get a job at Walmart. Okay, I couldn't because of my charges. My background checks. Walmart wouldn't even hire me.
Wow,
bagging groceries.
Walmart,
right, right.
Yeah, that's very hard to believe. I ain't gonna lie.
Listen, and I have all these, credentials. My resume is stacked with all these different skills and talents that I have. I'm a writer. I do marketing. I released 10 moonshines legally in the market,
Yeah,
so I know regulations and all kinds of stuff. Right. So that
yeah.
actually helped. And the work I did when I had the record label, that all helped to start this sauce company too. Because so once I couldn't get that job, I'm devastated. I didn't know what I was going to do. But what I've learned is to humble myself and ask for help, and to be of service. So I'm bringing spaghetti and meatballs and eggplant parmesan to a meeting full of guys, and somebody
Okay.
tried it, and they're like, "Oh, this is the best sauce I've ever had. How'd you do this?" And they're like, why don't you sell this? Why don't you try to sell this? Go to the farmers markets or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So so that's what I started looking into. I said, I'll let me check it out, see what it will take. So I got registered. Actually, I used the same LLC that I had from the record label and the publishing company I had started years ago. I just never published it. I never made any sales with the publishing company. It was just stagnant. So I took that name, that LLC, got a new business license, got my product sent in. I sent in samples to the Clemson University. They approved it. And then I was sitting outside of a Piggly Wiggly. Well, let me backtrack first. I made the
Okay.
prototype. So now I got a jar. I got a product.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
and so I went to Piggly Wiggly, and somebody had challenged me. They said you'll never be able to get this in stores. They're like, you're going to need to pay $1 million, and you can't get
Oh,
shelf space. Nobody, yeah, right. And the guy was like, just trying to prove his like superiority, like he knew better, kind of shit. And he wanted to partner with me on this company, but he wanted to do it his way. And so what I did, I was like, okay, watch this. I took the jar. I went inside the Piggly Wiggly without talking to anybody. I went over to the sauce aisle. I put it on the shelf, took pictures, taking selfies and videos, right? Then I walk outside. There's a homeless lady digging in a garbage can. I gave her $10 to shoot a video. I recorded a video of her standing outside the Piggly Wiggly holding up the jar, right?
like it.
Yep. And then that guy, he's like, "Oh man, you're going to get sued. They're going to come after you." I said, "This store will be legally in that, this jar will be in that store legally before anybody can send me any letters." So the very next day, I said a little prayer. I walked in with that prototype, talked to the manager, and he ordered 6 cases.
Wow. So, how was it when you saw it on the shelf?
It all became real, man. Like it's manifestation, right? Like if I could feel the emotion of what I see in my mind, if
Yeah.
now I'm acting as if it already had happened, the universe and reality start shifting to mimic what it is that I'm seeing in my mind's eye.
I damn. All right. So, how long have you been making this sauce?
So June 1st, 2024 was that day at the Otranto Piggly Wiggly. They took the first 6 cases. That same day, I called my father afterwards. I'm like, "Dad, you're never going to believe this, but this grocery store just ordered 6 cases. I got one jar, and I don't have no kitchen. I'm making it in my little galley kitchen the size of a bathroom." And he's like, "Well, is there any more stores around? Any more Piggly Wigglies that you can go to?" I said, "Yeah, there's one right down the street." He said, "Go there, see what happens." I went there, same thing, 6 cases. So within a month, I had 4 stores. 2 months, I had 7 stores, and then I started getting calls from all different retailers and distributors.
Get out of there! Look look at you. Now you got a specialty foods company.
Yeah. So Atlas King was the publishing company, but there's a DBA doing business as Apastioli Specialty Foods.
Bro. Joe, think about where everything started, all the way up to now. Your homemade Italian sauce, which by the way, I gotta get me a jar of this, or a couple of jars of this, because I gotta try this myself. You got your specialty foods. Like, how do you feel about that right now, bro?
You know, what I come to realize is God was there the whole time. No matter how mad I was at him for all the things that happened to me, and all the people that I tried to blame because of the way for the way I was, like my parents and all that stuff. Once I was able to forgive them, forgive myself, and then trust in God, everything has been kind of smooth sailing, man. And not it's not perfect, of course not,
Oh
But
no, trust me, I know. I
I
know.
have I have learned so much. It's like he's leaving breadcrumbs, man. The right people are coming into my life, because I'm willing to learn and listen and admit that I don't know what the hell's going on. I just know there's something out there that wants to see me succeed, and here I am. I am tasting like success in a positive, healthy way.
Well, Joe, right before I ask you more questions about your book, I got something I have to ask you, right? Because I was looking on your Facebook, and this one like kind of like stuck out to me. Take me through explaining me you're taking walks in your neighborhood, right?
Mhm.
You're taking walks and you're giving messages and you're talking about your faith. When did you start doing that and why?
I love this question, man. Thank you for asking this. Okay, so my sponsor, it was like a father to me. This guy Robert Baxter, and the only thing he ever wanted for years was me to get sober and start helping people. Because he knew that's where the answer was. That's what would give me the most peace and serenity and everything I was looking for was being of service. Right? He passes away November 19th, and his service was held at a place called Nexus Point Church. And I had not stepped foot in a church for decades. I just
Me
didn't
either.
want, you know, after what happened to me when I was a kid,
Yeah.
so but this church, something was different, man. So I did the lights and the video for his memorial and everything at that church.
Yeah.
And the pastor came up to me and he heard a song I had written for my sponsor who had just passed away. And he's like, "Why don't you join the praise team with us? Why don't you come here on a Wednesday night and start practicing with the band?" And I was so turned off by the music industry. I didn't want anything to do with music really. I was just doing
Yeah.
that in honor and tribute for this man.
Yeah.
So I just what I felt like God was trying to getting through to me. He was trying to get through to me. So I said yes, and I started practicing with that band, and I felt like something happened, and then a couple what was it? I can't remember when, but I was at a Piggly Wiggly doing a product demo at one of the stores, and there's a guy loading up his garlic butter seafood sauce on the shelves.
Yeah.
And we got to talking. He knew who I was. He seen my face on the Piggly Wiggly windows, and he owned that company, and he'd been doing it for 5 years, right? And on his labels says Acts 2:38. He's a pastor, right? And he
Wow.
he asked me if I ever been baptized, and I said, a long time ago as a Catholic, as an infant, but man, things have gone astray since then. And he's like,
Yeah.
"Well,
Yeah.
why don't you come? I'm going to baptize you." And then he also said, "Right, I want you to write a letter to God, thanking Him for everything that you want, as if you had it already."
Really?
Yep. And so I did that. He baptized me, and then I just felt compelled to start really looking into discipleship and learning the gospel and trying to carry the message.
So as you're walking and you're talking, right? I'm assuming you just taking walks to clear your mind or for health issues or something like that.
Yeah.
And you talk about different stuff that happened to you. Like, I remember you said one that actually stuck out to me, right? You can't help everybody.
Hmm.
Um, how does that make you feel, right, when you give these messages to people? I mean, like, because you know how they say, people say, like, all right, well, as long as I affect one person or whatever,
Hmm.
this and that. Like, but how does it personally make you feel that you're taking this walk, clearing your head, even for exercise or health? How does that personally make you feel when you're spreading that message, taking these
You
walks?
know, I can't keep it unless I give it away. So this is really, it's more for me. And the results, if somebody gets something out of it or not, are not up to me. I don't have the power to fix nobody, and I don't have the power to make them get it. I'm going to put it out there, and if they get it, great. But I know I'm going to stay sober that day that I try to help.
Okay. But one last question on that one. How hard is it to stay sober? No more addictions. Because I asked different people, and I know, right. You probably rely on your faith and you pray about this, but how
Mhm.
difficult for that is? Because I always want to ask somebody that how difficult for that, especially mentally. I mean, because because a lot of people say it's majority mentally, besides the physical. But how hard is that for you?
So once you straighten out spiritually, once I straightened out spiritually, the
Yeah,
mental and the physical followed. The compulsion to drink and do drugs was lifted, or it was removed from me. So there is no more struggle when it comes to drugs and alcohol. It's not an option anymore. It is, but it's not for me because I have tools now that I can use. If some kind of thought crossed my mind, I know what to do. You know, I'm not. I have a defense now.
I love it. I love it. Joe, take me to the day when you decided to write this book. When you finally
Yeah,
wrote it, when you finally wrote it, uh, did you have any like what they call writer's block? That's the first question I asked you.
Yeah, so this was a pretty long process. It took me like 7 months to write this, and it wasn't all at once. It was in
Little spot.
spurts, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, inspiration would start. So when I started manufacturing the sauce at the commissary kitchen, you know,
Mhm.
I'd be working, 8 at night to about 4 in the morning, and I'd be by myself most of the time. And I just started writing. I wanted to write and show people how to get into the manufacturing business, right? That's really
Yeah.
the purpose of writing. But then I started, I'm doing all this work in my spiritual program, and I'm taking more inventory, and I'm just looking at my life overview, right? And I'm like, you know what? No, I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning. I'm going to explain how this all really happened, and give my testimony too. So over 7 months, I had all these notes compiled in a notebook, and then I started putting it all together with an outline and structuring it. And I really released it when I did. I wasn't ready to release it. I kind of fast tracked it, because I had to pull out of the commissary kitchen, which was my only income, which is a sauce business, was my only income. And because of the growth, it was so fast and so heavy, and I couldn't meet the demand. I'm pouring sauce with a ladle into these jars. I'm capping them by hand. I'm wrapping the jars with labels by hand. And now you're talking 15 stores plus 59 food lines that just called an order, and 2 pallets of Cisco and all kinds of, I couldn't keep up, right? So I had to shut down, and now I don't have any income. So it was like, I better release this book to keep the brand alive, because these shelves are going to start emptying while I
Joe.
scale.
Joe, let me ask you a point question here. When you did pen to paper to the book, when
Hmm.
you finally wrote that last line, put that period at the end, send off to your publisher, right? He does it, he proofreads it. And I've asked every author this question too. When you got that copy back
Mm.
and delivered to you, after everything you told me, everything you told my audience, before you even open a page, what was that emotion that you went through when you saw it when you opened it up?
What hit me first was the copy that came back. When I opened that box, it said across across the top of it, "Not for sale." And I'm like, my soul is not for sale.
I love that. Oh man, damn. All right. Joe, I only got a couple more questions for you, but one thing I gotta know is I saw on there your book is being shopped out right now. I mean, we talking about like big things, man. The Angel Studios, Netflix.
Uh,
I mean, what's going on, man? Are you a superstar now?
it's another moment of divine intervention. Again, man, I can't make this stuff up. All right. God had bigger plans for me from the beginning. I couldn't see it. So here I am binge watching The Chosen on Netflix. My wife's sleeping. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning. I just wrapped up the season or the series. I'm like, it was so profound to me, learning about Jesus's life in Nazareth, being rejected in his hometown. And anyway, I I sent my manuscript. I hadn't even gotten the copy that was printed yet. This is on my phone. So I sent the Word document on LinkedIn to Angel Studios, and I said, "Here we go. I'm going to give it up to God. Let's roll the dice, see what happens." 2 months later, they hit me back and said the story was so inspiring, and they encouraged me to film a 5-minute torch pilot, get it to them as soon as I can, so that they could review it and then possibly start pitching it to networks.
Bro, how's that make you feel, bro?
Man, I'm proud, but I'm cautious about that feeling because
Gotcha.
I got to remember it's not me. It's not about me anymore. I'm not that important. I'm really not. I can't take credit for these miracles that are happening. I'm not that powerful. I'm just blessed. I'm grateful, and I hope that someday, you know, the feedback from people that maybe changed their life as a result of following my story, or more importantly, my kids realize that I wasn't, you know, just this deadbeat dad that their mom told them that I was.
These stories all will inspire people. I'm not gonna say it's gonna inspire millions and stuff like that, but it's gonna inspire someone. It's probably gonna inspire someone you'll never hear about. Never gonna hear about it. But let me ask you my last question for you is, sir. I assume that I saw online you did a book signing.
Yeah.
Okay, so you saw your book. You got people coming in, checking you out. You talking to people. How was that feeling for you?
That was incredible. So that's kind of like what I was talking about, the feedback. Now I'm getting reviews on Amazon and stuff, and people are saying the most incredible things. I had never anticipated any of this kind of stuff, really. But the book signings, I was doing a book tour at all the Piggly Wigglies, that I had product in still. So I was at a book signing, and it hit me on that first book signing to put out my iPad and take prayer requests that I could then send back to my church and get them in the newsletter. Anyway, somebody that I had never met before had brought a copy of my book to this book signing, had me sign it, and had me pray with them. And
Wow.
for some things that they were struggling with that I have struggled with myself,
Okay.
and it was just such a powerful moment, and I couldn't help but feel in the spirit, and I knew that I'm just on the right path, man.
So when that kid was talking to you, like telling you about that he related to your book and he loved your book, like how did that make you feel right there? Because that you this is like what you went through, he was going through. He probably felt like, okay, I'm not alone in all this.
Right. And I have to be reminded of that too. I'm not alone either. Nobody is, and that's what I'm saying. Like once I surrendered and I turned my will and my life over to God, I was going to let Him lead the way. Now I'm not in the driver's seat. You know, People just show up, out of nowhere. And there's no more coincidences. So I was meant to be there at that moment with that kid crying. Here we are in public crying. Like, it's so fulfilling, man. No drug or drink could ever make me feel that way.
Well, I tell you what, I'm gonna tell the audience, ladies and gentlemen, everything will be in the descriptions below. His book, his recipes, not recipes, sorry, because I mean you do definitely not giving out the recipe, but definitely the book with descriptions will be below. It's on Amazon right now. It's probably all the other places. I will be because I'm not that far from South Carolina, so I'll be out there down there in Piggly Wiggly. I'm gonna get me a couple of jars. I'll tell you that now, and I'm gonna message them like, yo, this stuff is ridiculously good, man.
It'll be in Charlotte. It'll be in Charlotte. Not too long.
Let's go, man. Cause I'm ready. Yo, I love some pasta, bro. Joe, I appreciate you coming on here, man. Honestly, right, but before I end this, I'm gonna play my little 5 question game, and I also give the
Yeah.
guests their last comment that they want to send to their audience. So let's have some fun today, sir. Are you ready to play with me?
Let's do it. Let's do it. I'm ready.
Okay. What's a hidden talent no one knows about you?
I'm a hell of a poker player.
Yeah. What kind of
I've
poker?
won Texas Hold'em. 13,
Uh,
13 week competition. I won 11 out of 13 weeks.
what?
Yeah. It was tournament style, two tables
No.
in the warehouse of a sailman.
No,
Yeah, you
I've
could call my
never heard
cousins.
nobody doing that. You kidding
They
me?
hate me. They won't let me play no more.
I won't let you play either. You know what I'm saying? All right. I got a important question for you. You
Yep.
ready?
Uh-huh.
If you can ask your future self, Joe,
Mm.
only one question, let's say 5 years in the future, Joe, one question. What question would you ask that, Joe?
Damn. That's deep. 5 years from now, my future Joe.
One
What
question.
can I
You can
ask?
answer
What can I
one
ask him?
question.
Why didn't you push harder to get your father to invest in AI?
Okay. All right. All right. And he'll probably tell you that. He'll probably tell you that too.
He'll be saying, I should have invested in AI, is what he'll be saying.
Hey, man, I should have invested in a lot of stuff back in the day, bro. I'm kicking myself to this day. But all right, here go an interesting one for you. What is the weirdest thing you've ever eaten?
I drank a gallon of pickle juice for $20.
That's not too weird. I mean, that's drinking. How about eating something? Have you eaten anything weird?
I mean, dog treats just to be funny.
Oh God. Dude, hold on, man. Why'd you do that? Because I gotta hear about that. Why'd you do that?
It's always to impress somebody, man. I was always trying to impress somebody, the crazier the better. Like, when they say you won't do that, okay, watch this.
Okay, all right. I got something for you. And a lot of people, some people know this question, some people don't. What was your favorite toy as a kid?
G.I. Joe, the little army guys, little figurines. I had dozens of, hundreds of them in the bathtub with me. I'd set them up all over the yard,
I like
envision these
that.
big war scenes, I don't know.
Hey, I actually like that, man. I like that. All right. All right. Your last question, sir. Let me make this a good one for you.
Okay.
I'm I'm
This is
I'm,
already
I'm
good, man. You're killing it.
yeah,
I'm
I'm
telling you.
I'm gonna make this. All right, here you go. Ready?
Mhm.
What moment in your life would you want to experience only one more time?
Mm, man, the birth of my daughter,
Break it down for me, bro. Why?
because I didn't I didn't fully grasp what was happening, and I wish I could go back and relive it.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
And
Trust me.
I took it for granted the whole time with those kids. I took it for granted.
Trust me. I know that for sure. Especially my oldest daughter. I wish I can relive my oldest daughter's younger years because I wasn't the best father to her when she was younger. But we rekindled and we had a very good time as she got older. And she had three of my grandkids, but unfortunately, almost a little over like 2.5 years ago, she had an overdose of fentanyl
Mm.
with drugs.
Sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah, thank you. So I wish I can go back and like redo some of that or have a better experience with her, even though we had a good ending. But yeah, I wish I can do that.
Hey,
But Joe,
you don't look that old to have grandkids.
oh, baby,
How are you
I'll
doing?
be
What are you drinking?
water,
Holy water, the fountain of youth.
baby. I'll be 54 next week.
Wow, man, would never believe it.
I
You look,
appreciate you,
you look
brother.
younger than me.
Nah, bro, not me, brother, man. Joe, I'm gonna give you the final word. I would like you to tell the audience here, people who are listening on Apple, Spotify, iHeart Radio, and I forgot to tell everybody, we'll be on Audible when this comes out.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
Thank you. And people watching on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe, hit that notification button. Tell the audience why they should buy
It'll
bars to
change your
jar.
life. It'll change your life. Something's going to happen. I don't know exactly what, but it's like I tell people when they're buying the sauce in the store. It's like you'll never be the same after you try this. So give it a shot, and you let me know what you think. I'm willing. I could take a criticism. Being in the music industry for as long as I was, I could take criticism. But I don't think I'm going to get that much. To be honest, I'm pretty confident with what I got here.
Hey, well, first of all, are you a Yankee fan?
Sometimes, I got 30 different team hats, and when one of them asks me to start endorsing them, I'll throw out all the rest of them. Today I'm wearing Yankees. Tomorrow might be the Braves.
But wait, for being from Connecticut, you should be like a Patriots fan, something like that.
Sometimes I'm a Patriots fan too. Yeah, I mean, I'm not loyal to any of them. Like I said, when when one of them starts paying me, I'll become loyal. Right
My
now, I
loyalty
just
is
don't care that much.
right over there. My loyalty is right over there.
Who is that? The Eagles.
Philly
Oh
born and
man.
raised.
Oh man. Oh man.
I'm Philly born and raised, baby. Philly
Hey,
born and raised.
a friend of mine is a diehard Eagles fan. I did something terrible to him. They lost in the playoffs, right? I think it was last year. I sent him a picture of a dead eagle I found on Google.
Oh my goodness! Oh my god!
He was
Well, first of
crying.
all, we won a Super Bowl last year. It's probably the year before that.
The
But
year before. It was the year before. Yeah, that's right. I
Joe,
don't
I
follow it,
appreciate.
man. You know, I don't. I just don't follow.
I
I got
see
so
that,
much
bro.
shit going on. You know. Oh
Joe,
man, that's funny.
I appreciate your time, man. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you coming on here. Thank you so much for coming on. Tell us
Likewise.
about your journey. Tell you about your story. People in South Carolina, even up in North Carolina, that we all gotta get the homemade sauce. Trust me, I'm going to actually get it. I'm going to advertise it on my page right there.
Oh
Put it out
man.
there. You know what I mean, Joe, thank you so
Hey,
much for coming on, sir.
we could talk about sponsorships too, man. I'm down. You know, I would love to.
Hey,
I love what you're doing. I really do. I just want to give you a big shout out, man. What you're doing is phenomenal. It is different, like you said in the beginning. It certainly is different, and I respect it. And just God bless you, man. Keep doing what you're doing.
I appreciate you, brother. All right.
All
All right,
right.
ladies and gentlemen. Hold on. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next time on Let's Talk About It. Deuces.